Hello, everyone, and once again, welcome to Gospel Gossip with Doran and Paula. Say hi, Doran.
Hey, everybody.
We just thank you guys for watching this segment, and we want to tell you that we love you with all our hearts. More importantly, God loves you. And on this episode, we are going to discuss Jeremiah, the prophet, the young prophet, the weeping prophet, Dawn, as
Yeah,
they call him. And we're
yeah.
going to quickly talk about uh, just chapter one, the first chapter of Jeremiah, which has a lot of content in it, and it's about the call of Jeremiah.
Mm-hmm.
We want to just kind of talk about the call of Jeremiah, and um, this is what we know. Jeremiah was very young, right, Doran?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
He was 17 years old. I looked it up. He was 17
Mm-hmm.
years old when he was called by God. And I know I was thinking how overwhelmed, I'm thinking about when I was 17,
Mm-hmm.
and I would have been blown away if the creator of heaven and earth had spoke to me.
Yeah.
I may have got up and ran out the room and been like, don't
Yeah.
nobody leave me by
And
myself.
you wouldn't have been believing it. You wouldn't wanted to believe it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he calls him and he says, Jeremiah puts it like this. He says, the word of the Lord came to me.
Mm-hmm.
So God spoke to him. And for anybody who thinks that God doesn't speak to you,
Mm-hmm.
um, we keep everybody that we're talking about in this gospel gossip, God was talking to them. So
Mm-hmm.
let's make that clear. God's voice can be heard, and
Yes.
heard loudly, and heard specifically. He gave him instructions, and he's given other people instructions, but he just said to him, which blows me away. The first thing
Mm-hmm.
God says is, before I formed you
Mm-hmm.
in the womb, I knew you.
Yep.
So that to me meant that he observed him, he looked at him, he had developed a relationship with him before he put him in his mother's womb. So
Yeah.
we're spirit.
Mm-hmm.
We came down here in human form.
Mm-hmm.
God chose the mother womb to put us in. I do believe that with all my heart.
Mm-hmm.
uh,
And I mean, if he's saying, if the word is saying that he knew Jeremiah, then that same thing applies to us. He knew us
yeah,
before he put us in our mother's womb. He
yeah,
knew us.
yeah,
So that's exciting by
yes.
itself.
He's speaking loud and clear that, hey, I know you and you and you and
Yeah.
you. I know what
Yeah.
your name is going to be. Before I knew what
Yeah.
your mama would name you, I knew what your daddy would name you.
Yeah.
And
He
Dory,
knew
then
everything about us.
he knew everything about us before he put us here. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Then he goes on to say, before you were born, I set you
Mm.
apart. And when you're set apart, Doran,
Yeah.
it's like you're made to be something different.
Yep.
You're unique in your own way, which I believe that all of us are unique.
Uh-huh.
Um, there's different gifts and talents. I mean, all this stuff was decided before we even got here. And it's
Mm-hmm.
apparent through this call of Jeremiah, because
Mm-hmm.
God goes into specifics. But
Mm-hmm.
Jeremiah, first of all, was set apart to walk with God specifically. He was set
Mm-hmm.
apart. He was different. He knew he would be called, or God decided to call him at the age of 17.
Mm-hmm.
But he was set apart because God wanted to um, keep him for himself and use him for himself.
Mm-hmm.
And he is a major prophet. Listen, the book of Jeremiah is
Yeah.
long.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm looking to see right quick how many chapters. He wrote Jeremiah and then the following book, which is Lamentations.
Mm-hmm.
But there are 52 chapters
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
the book of Jeremiah. So you got, several, was it 4 major prophets? So he's a major prophet.
Yeah. He definitely.
And prophets were no joke
Nope.
back in those days. People hated to see them coming. They were always, doom and gloom,
Yeah.
saying what was going to
If you
happen.
saw a prophet, you were like, "Oh no."
Oh no, what did we do now? You knew that the
Something scary.
Israelites knew they had did something wrong, because God did send prophet after prophet after
Yeah.
prophet,
Mm-hmm.
to tell them about themselves and to tell them, the words from God. So
Mm-hmm.
they were, prophets spoke for God.
Mm-hmm. They were his mouthpiece.
They were his mouthpiece. Good word.
Yeah.
I'm right. That's what that we're gonna come back to that too.
Okay.
They were God's mouthpiece.
Mm-hmm.
So he goes on to say, I appointed you as a prophet to the nations.
Mm.
I'm sure Jeremiah was like, oh, what do you mean?
That's a big responsibility.
Yes, he knows what a prophet is, I'm sure, because of all, because they knew prophets came and they were like, God don't like it. God said he's gonna get you all, stop sinning, stop oppressing, take care of the poor, look after the strangers, the Hebrew, you guys are serving false gods, you're serving idols, the sin God hates, get it together, people. And so Jeremiah probably was like, wait a minute, those
Right.
prophets are bold people. They say some things that folks don't like to hear.
Mm-hmm.
But he said, I appointed you, Doran,
Mm-hmm.
to be a prophet to the nations. And the
Yeah.
nations, that's the world.
Right.
So he laid some deep stuff on Jeremiah at 17 years old.
At 17 years old.
What
Yeah.
do you think about that?
I mean, I'm. So he probably felt like, was he capable of even doing that? Because he's only 17 years old. So you're telling me that I'm going to the nations and to give people bad news or tell people about themselves. So I'm sure that he was overwhelmed at the fact that he was going to have that type of responsibility. He was only 17. He probably felt like he wasn't even, how can I do this? I don't have the capability. I'm just a kid.
Yeah.
So.
And that is what the next area goes to. He tells God, I'm too young. What are you sure you want me? I'm just a young whippersnapper.
Mm-hmm.
And then God is like, don't say that. Don't say that. Don't speak the opposite of what I'm speaking. And so we really do have to speak what God speaks, because the first thing we do is we start looking at our capabilities.
Yeah, yep, that's it.
And when we're doing a work for God, you have to look at God's capabilities,
Yeah.
and that
You have to
he's
put yourself
able.
to the side.
Yeah.
And I know that's easier said than done, but he's telling him has nothing. He's telling you, I've given you everything that you need to do what I need, because he's like, I can't speak for you. Like, you're God. I can't speak for you. But God was saying, no, don't say that, because I'm telling you that you can.
Yeah.
And that you will.
Yes. Yes. Then he goes on to say, okay, don't say you're too young. Don't speak negative. But here's the other thing. He says, you must go to everyone I send you to. Say whatever I tell you to say, whatever I command you to say. And then don't you be afraid of them.
Yep.
Because I will rescue you. He let them know that you're going to have problems. Whenever
You can ready to go tell these people stuff.
Yeah.
Just get ready.
The first problem is his age, you know.
Mm.
And
There's
after
a
Dory,
kid coming trying to tell us something. I don't think so.
yeah. And so he said, don't be afraid. He's like, don't be fearful of people.
Mm-hmm.
And when you think about it, you know, hey, I was that way as well. I mean, I think you're like,
Mm-hmm.
you gonna go to somebody and tell them that God said such and such, or you're
Mm-hmm.
gonna represent God, and some people are not receptive of religion, or some people are not receptive of you personally.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to hear what you got to say, you know, who you think you are.
Like, that's it.
But God is like, don't be afraid of their looks. Don't be
Yeah.
afraid of the people, because that's what it is. It's their looks, it's their attitude that people can be, you know, they can give you the side eye, they can look you up and down and be like, who you think you are. God was saying, don't be afraid of none of that.
Yeah. Because he knew that that was going to be something that he was going to experience, and people were going to be saying, "Who do you think you are, judging me and judging us?" And the first thing they're going to be saying is, "Who do you think you are?" So he
Yeah,
knew that was going to be one of the things that Jeremiah was going to have to deal with.
yeah. You're a prophet. Oh, please. The prophets we
Mm-hmm.
had have been elderly men.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Religious, you know, upper echelon, you know, sort of
Mm-hmm.
say, you know, the prophets were, you know, they were older men. And like
Mm-hmm.
Isaiah and Samuel, even though Samuel started, God raised him up as a child being a prophet as well.
Right.
But when he came into
Mm-hmm.
the fullness of God, he was a grown man. Uh,
Right.
when he became like judge over the
Uh-huh.
land and stuff.
Uh-huh.
But God is telling Jeremiah, I'm sending you out, and he ain't
Mm-hmm.
studied. He ain't
Yeah.
studied the word.
Mm-hmm.
All he's doing is stepping out on the voice of God and the command of God.
Mm-hmm.
And God just he's taking a babe and using him. And it's a
Mm-hmm.
beautiful thing, because
Mm-hmm.
he's like really out of the box. And
Mm-hmm.
he's not in that box of I've studied,
Uh-huh.
I've you know
I
had
know.
this prayer life going for
Mhm.
eons, you know. So he
Yeah.
really is out. So that shows you how our God is as well. He is really an out of the box God.
Yeah.
Um,
He
Isaiah
chose
says,
he chose a kid that hadn't gone to college and scholar, wasn't a scholar and wasn't older. He chose, but that's how he gets the glory though, because he's
yes,
gonna do that thing that you can't. The only thing you can say is God. It's nothing that you did on your own, so you can't, take the credit for it. And for him to use somebody, like Jeremiah, you're gonna have to glorify God.
yes,
Gonna-
yes. He said he takes the foolish things of the world to conform the wise.
Mhm.
And this is, you know, what we would see as foolishness. Child, please go sit down
Mhm.
somewhere. You know,
Mhm.
you are yet a child.
Yeah.
So then he goes on and he says that he touched his mouth and put his
Mhm.
words in him. And so it's like when God touches your mouth,
Mhm.
you begin to speak the things of God. You begin to lift up the oracles of God. When he touches your mouth,
Mhm.
that's saying that he has made you one with him. So he
Mhm.
made Jeremiah one with him.
Mhm.
Then he goes on, Doran, to begin to uh, like train him in a sense. That's what I saw it as when he says, what is this that you see?
Mhm.
And then Jeremiah tells him, I see such and such and such and such.
Mhm.
He said, that's correct. And he said, guess what? Everything that I show you, the word will be fulfilled. He said, I am watching my word to fulfill it. So whatever
Mhm.
you speak that comes from your mouth is coming from me,
Right.
and I'm going to watch over it. And I'm telling you, Doran, I was like, that's a prophet. That's a
Mhm.
prophet. Because God says, whatever I tell you to do, it shall,
Mhm.
I'm going to watch
It's
over
gonna
it.
happen. Yeah.
I'm going to watch
Yeah.
over it until it comes to pass.
Wow.
That's a
Yeah.
prophet. The word, God takes that word and like holds it in the palm of his hand that this prophet has spoken, because those are the words of God. And the scripture that you always say, he says, my word will go out and it will not return void.
Mhm. And then also, it's like Jeremiah, that gave him, I'm sure, the confidence. It's, that's why he's saying, don't be afraid of the people. When you see their faces, don't be afraid. But I'm sure that with him telling him that, okay, so what I put in your mouth and what you say out of your mouth is going to come to pass, and I'm going to watch over it until it does. That had to give him some, amount of security and confidence that he could go out and do this thing at the age of 17, because the Lord put it in him, and he didn't have to. I'm sure it helped him with his fear to not be afraid that, I'm telling you now, I'm going to be with you. So you don't have to worry about it. Just go ahead and do what I tell you to do. And so they gave him what he needed to go out and do it.
And I think the word is trust.
Mm-hmm. Trust. That's the
Here's the
word.
way. Yes, here's the
Yeah.
way that you can trust me.
Yeah, that's
And
it.
then, yeah, and then he tells him, he begins to tell him a little bit about, what's going to happen through the other nations, that basically things are going to start coming against them, against the people. But so he's telling, so he goes,
Uh-oh.
huh?
There?
Okay, so then he
I'm
begins,
sorry, your screen was freezing.
yeah, I think it's just the Wi-Fi. So then Doran, he goes on to tell Jeremiah uh, what he's going to do. And to build him up some more, he said, oh, I'm sorry, I wanted to hit this point first.
Yeah, your screen froze and you went away for a second. Now it look like I'm upside down.
Yeah, you're upside down. It's
Why?
that is so funny. But anyway, moving on. Hey, things happen. So
Yeah.
he gave him a glimpse of what his mouth would be like and the things that he would say. He said, you're going to tear down, you're going to destroy, you're going to overthrow, and then you're going to build up and plant. And Doran, he was talking about his mouth. He was talking about the words that you would speak. You're going to speak words that's going to tear some stuff down and remove some stuff. I'm going to use you to tell it like it is, and then I'm going to use you to build up this nation, this world, this land, these people with your mouth.
Wow.
He wasn't talking about you're going to be like, you're going to be in a boxing match and you're going to be in a fight. But he's talking about you're going to tear down these things. What you speak for me, it's going to tear down. You're going to annihilate. You're going to put to an end. You're going to demolish some stuff in this nation and with my people. You're going to overthrow power. It says overthrow means removal from power. You're gonna tear down. You're gonna remove from power the powerful with your words that I have you speaking, Jeremiah. But you're going to build up and plant. You're going to put in place. You're going to establish. You're going to develop. Building means making stronger, construction. So I don't think he understood all the words that God was speaking, but I always look up definitions and I'm like, oh my goodness, this is what he's going to use his mouth. You said mouthpiece earlier, and I was like, I wrote that down. I'm like, yes, Jeremiah was God's mouthpiece. God was going to use his mouth to undo the negative stuff that was being done in the land, and then to actually oversee the rebuilding and the lifting up of a nation through the words.
Yeah, I think that's so appropriate.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. No, I was gonna say I think that's so appropriate because I guess the just us living our everyday lives, God will tear down some things in our lives. He'll remove and take out But whenever he does that, he's always coming back to rebuild, to
Yes.
bring back, to make it better than it was before.
Yes.
So, I mean, I think it's really applicable. He doesn't just tear down to tear you up. He does it. He removes those things that
Yes.
need to be removed, but he always replaces it with something that's so much better.
Yes. Yes. He's a good God like that. He doesn't like sin, you know. We like to sin, you know, we like to be doing things in the world where, you know, we get caught up in the world things, and but God, the world and God is completely opposite, you know. How the world does things and how God does things is completely opposite. We have a righteous and holy God. It's just, it is what it is. But I had wrote down during that he was making Jeremiah a one-man wrecking ball. A one-man wrecking ball, and then a one-man construction company.
Yeah.
So he's gonna wreck it, tear it down, and then rebuild.
That's a lot.
It's a lot. It's a lot. And I'm sure Jeremiah, he's 17. I'm sure he's like, okay, what does he mean by this? You know, what is he talking about?
Not really understanding the strength that he was putting in him, in his mouth, and the power that he was putting in his mouth.
Yes, yes, yes. Yes. Over the nations, 17 years old, a prophet, a man of God. There was something about him, no doubt, that God would call him like this. He pronounced judgments. He told them about their wickedness, their sin. They were burning incense to other gods. They were worshiping what they made with their hands. There was a lot going on with God's children. Israel was special, and they had been taught about God, and things had been passed down. So when they got off track, they went all the way off track, and as time passed, they kept doing things that angered God. And that's why he started lifting up prophets to tell them, listen, this stuff is it's not right, and I don't like it, and I want you all to know that it can bring about, you know, negative things in your life. It can bring about negative things, not just in your life, but in your children, your grandchildren. It can bring about negative things in your city, you know, it can bring about negative things in your nation, you know. So we learn a lot. But you know, I like when God tells him to get himself ready. He said, get ready, Jeremiah.
How do you get ready? Like, how do I get ready for something like that?
Yeah, he said, but get ready, because in other words, prepare yourself, be available, and be eager and willing. So he's giving him an attitude. He's like, this is your attitude and stand. Be available, be eager, be willing. So when God calls you, he's calling you for a reason. He's calling you for that you have a job to do for him. He's already assigned you this job before he put you in your mother's womb. He saw you, he prepared you, and he's saying, prepare yourself. Be available to me. Be eager to, you know, like when you're in the world, you're eager to you know, do he wants that same eagerness towards him, you know. And then he says, stand up, Jeremiah. Rise to your feet, Jeremiah. Okay. Be courageous. So he's telling him, you got to have some courage behind you, because the things I do and the things I'm gonna have you doing, you're gonna need some courage. He told him to speak up. Don't be afraid to tell people what I'm telling you, Jeremiah. Speak up, speak loud, speak clear. And he said, again, don't be afraid of them. And if you do, he said, I will terrify you before them. So if you let them punk you out, then I'm gonna punk you out in front of them.
Right. So better you be not afraid of them and be afraid of me, because you don't want me to do what I'm gonna do if you show fear. So
Yeah,
I get
yeah,
that.
yeah. If
I'd
you
rather
try to
deal with
run
them
and
people
hide,
than deal with you guys.
yeah, yeah. If you try to run and hide from them, when they start giving you that side eye, when they start
Mhm.
rolling their eyes at you, when they
Remember what
start
I said?
look, because let's talk about the actions of people when
Yeah,
they don't want to hear what you have to say, or they don't want to be bothered with you. It's
yeah.
side eye, it's
Mhm.
rolling the eye, it's looking you up and down, it's who do
Mhm.
you think you are? It's
Mhm.
Jeremiah, you're a child, okay?
Mhm.
You a child up under me,
Mhm.
okay? You're a kid. Um,
Mhm.
so God is saying to him, courageous. And then he said, you'll be like a fortified city. You'll be well guarded. You'll be like an iron pillar.
Mhm.
You won't be moved. You'll be like a bronze wall. You,
Mhm.
you'll have guarded gates around you.
Yep.
It's you versus the entire world, Jeremiah.
Mhm.
He said, I'm sending you to the kings, the officials, the priests, and the people.
Mhm.
They're going to fight, right, Doran? They're going to fight.
Yep. Yep.
But if God be for you,
Right.
it's more than the world against you.
Right. And he sent him to the big people, the kings, officials, priests. He didn't send them to just the little old people. He sent them to the people that were in authority.
Doran, I wrote down this. I wrote down, can you imagine the job he had to do?
And then it tells you not to be afraid. Whew, that's a lot.
How you do things for God, but you also be shaking in your boots, but you still got to do what he
Mhm.
tells you to do and
You just gotta
where he
do
tells
it.
you to go. You got to do it. But
Yeah.
can you imagine going to speak to the religious upper echelon in those
Uh-uh.
days? And in those days, that's the pastors, the prophets, the deacons,
Mhm.
the head of the boards and stuff.
Yeah.
Um, he was shaking in his boots, a mere child who had just heard the voice of God. But and then he's saying, I can see people saying so like, boy, you don't know God like I know God.
Mhm.
I've been walking with him and talking with him all my life. I'm just thinking about what people in the upper echelon,
Mhm.
I know what God is saying better than you are. And he ain't saying that listen, we're gonna prosper, we're gonna be blessed.
Mhm.
It's gonna be a time of jubilee, boy.
Yeah.
So we don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. And king after king did that with him, and they didn't want to accept what he was saying.
Yeah. How you gonna speak uh truth? The saying is speaking truth to power. Well, you have
Mhm.
the powerful religious sector. You got the
Mhm.
powerful kings who are over the land. He had to speak to,
Mhm.
and then I don't know, Dawn. I don't know. Just speaking to regular people could be a problem too, because
Yeah.
those are the ones that's really gonna give you the side eye, like you spoke to God.
Mhm.
Okay, you
Mhm.
you talk to God. Well, he ain't talked to me.
Mhm. Well, how
Uh,
come he didn't tell me? You
yeah,
just a kid, so what do you know? You don't know anything. You just a kid.
yeah,
Why would
yeah.
I talk to you?
Yeah, and you ain't the boss of me. And and
Yeah, you
and
ain't the
and,
boss of me.
and get out of here with that God. Get out of here with that God stuff.
Uh-huh.
Get out of here with that God stuff. But
Uh-huh.
you know, I just think about, people will mock you. They will give you the side eye. They will look you up and down. They will roll their eyes. They will spread
Mhm.
gossip and rumors. Like, we're doing the gospel gossip, but gossip, let's, oh, who he think he is? He crazy. He heard
Mhm.
from God. Okay, so he doing for God.
Mhm.
Okay, something's wrong with him.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah, something's wrong with him. But
Mhm.
people can be,
Yeah.
unfortunately, your worst enemy when you're trying to do the work of the Lord. Um,
Yeah. And
and you
that's why I
just,
think excuse me. That's why I think he said, they're going to fight you, but they'll fail, for I'm with you and I'll take care of you. But then he makes it clear that he has spoken. I am the Lord. Lord, and I have spoken. And to me, that's powerful. It's like, I don't care what they say and what they try to do against you. I am the Lord, and I have spoken, and it's said, and it is done.
Yes. Yes. And just to get to the end, because of course we can go on and on about a young man, 17 years old, being called by God, being built up, being taught as he walked the walk. But God sent him out immediately and told him, and just gave him words of encouragement and saying, I've got your back. But the thing that Dorian, I'm gonna let you have the last word. The thing that came to my mind when I was reading this, and then you said it earlier, that the mouth. And I want people to know that God uses mouth. And as well as much as God will use your mouth, the enemy will use your mouth. And I want people to know that God used Jeremiah's mouth as a weapon, as a tool. Of course, he was speaking the word of God, but his mouth, the words that he spoke were powerful. They were spirit and they were life. And God said he would watch over everything he said for him to make sure that it comes to pass. And I just want people to know that you can use your mouth for good and for evil. And this is a stamp on, watch what you say, watch what you speak over your children, watch what you speak over your spouse, your friends. Be careful, everyone, because your mouth can be a one person wrecking ball. If you say something about someone like, oh, they're not going to amount to anything, they're not this, your words will go out and will actually uh, help be successful in what you say. So either you can be a mouthpiece for God, or you can be a mouthpiece for the enemy.
Yeah.
Darkness. And you can speak words that are dark, and they will affect people's lives, whether you believe it or not. It's the truth. This word does not lie. I'll let you have the last word about Jeremiah, Doran.
Yeah, you're breaking up, so I'm kind of getting bits and pieces of what you're saying. But the only thing that I really say is, I think what was really important is the fact that if God tells you to say it, then you have no choice. You have, but if He's the one you to say, you're just saying stuff out of out of your mouth from your own thinking and your own, you know, power or voice. That's different than if God tells you to do it, because He. But you just go, you.
Okay, so our connection has left us. Of course, the enemy doesn't want you to hear these words, but we will end this segment, and we hope that you did get the majority of what we said. Watch your mouth, be careful. Your mouth is truly um, can be a mouthpiece for God, or it can be a mouthpiece for the enemy. And God used this 17-year-old child to be his mouthpiece. He was a one-man wrecking ball, but he also was sent to build and build up and plant and get things right. Um, just be careful, people, and remember the words that you speak are spirit and life. And that's one of the points we wanted to share with you today with Jeremiah. We're having Wi-Fi problems right now, but thank you until the next episode. We love you guys, and we thank you for listening in. And I apologize for um, the breakup in the conversation, which was really getting good. Have a blessed day. a blessed week. Until next time, this is Gospel Gossip with Doran and Paula signing off.